Hi everybody, it's Nairi. I am live and it's brilliant because the last time I tried to go live, I was using a camera, etc. etc. But this is really easy on my computer, so I'm really happy about that. And the light seems okay, so we're good to go. I'm a couple of minutes early, so I'll wait for people to come on, see what happens. Yes, you can chat with me. I'm very excited to see who pops on here. Recently, the subscribers have really rocketed and views are really rocketed. So I'm really excited to be on here and see who joins me, because what I want to do is I want to talk about what we can do this year. So I have some ideas already from people that have gone onto my community page, but I really want to see what other ideas that you have, because I'm sure they will be very mixed depending on your situation. So whether you're an adopter, whether you're thinking of adoption, whether you're just curious, whether you're a foster carer, whether you're someone who works with childhood trauma, attachment, you name it, we can have a go at it. So I did do a live a little bit earlier just to practice things out, but it was fine. It was fine. And then I thought it was best to schedule it, because then people will have a little bit of warning as to the fact that I'm actually doing a live. So hang on and see what happens. And hopefully, even if we get one person, we'll be able to move forward with it. So far, recently this year, I have concentrated a lot more on what I would call safe adoption topics. Not safe, but what I mean is popular ones. So we've had the last one that I published was about toddlers, and then the one before that was placement day, which I guess both of those would be fine in whichever country you're in. I'm guessing placement day would happen whether it's in the UK or America or wherever you are. This placement day is placement day, and that one seemed to do really well, and the toddler one's done really well. So it's a case of like working out subjects that are going to be relevant to everyone, but then every now and again, I think it's good to do something a little bit different as well. So on my community page, not the last post, but the post before, I asked for ideas, and one person came forward and said that they wanted transitions. I think that was you, Gabby, if you watch this back, transitions. And I wasn't sure whether that was transitions when a child is transitioning from foster care to adoption, or whether it's any transitions. So I dealt with any transitions. So that's going to be my next video that's going to come out, which was, fine. I found lots of things to say. And then I went back onto the community page and I asked for more ideas. So the two ideas that I had were introducing children to relatives. So I guess relatives they've not met before, how to do that. So that's an interesting one. And depending on the relative, I guess, depends on how difficult that is. And then the other one, which was a really interesting one, was respecting people's boundaries. So sometimes, when children don't understand people's space, and sometimes their background will affect this as well. They can be a little bit too familiar and they don't seem to understand how to respect people's boundaries and space. So that's also a really interesting one. The other one that was suggested to me, which I'm not as confident with, so it'd be interesting to see if anybody out there has experienced this, is the Life Appreciation Days, which I'm guessing would more than likely be something that is named that way in the UK. So it might be that in a different country, it might be called something else entirely. So a Life Appreciation Day is when lots of professionals get together and they start discussing the child in a positive way. So bringing like lots of positive things together about the child for the new potential adoptive parents. So I'm going to look into that a little bit, because when my boys were younger, there wasn't such a thing. When they were foster children, there wasn't such a thing as a Life Appreciation Day. So I need to look into that a little bit, but I know there are videos out there, so I'll have a little look. But if anybody has gone through a Life Appreciation Day and they're watching this back, please do get hold of me. You can message me on the community tab, or you can message me on this live and let me know if you've actually had a live appreciation day. So I'll be very interested to speak to you about that. So that's that. So then I thought, okay, let's try live, let's get on, and let's see if anybody joins me and if anybody else has got any ideas. So hopefully some of you will join me. Well, I'll hang on and see. And in the meantime, I will just chat away. So what else have I been up to? So we've had quite a lot of changes at the minute in the family, which is going to mean big changes for us. So I'm going to hopefully bring out a video on that and some of these major changes that are happening in our family. So one of the videos that I could do could be around schooling and not schooling, so home ed and schooling, perhaps. When I say homeschooling, it would definitely not be anything formal. It would be more kind of loosely thrown together, more loose education, if you know what I mean. So I will have to potentially, I'll share with you this a bit more in a proper video, potentially have to change the way that I do things and work out, what I'm going to do for one of my boys at least. So something that I could talk about is home education. So again, if you're watching this back on the replay and you weren't here for the live, let me know if that's something that you're interested in. It's one of those subjects, home education, that a lot of people do talk about. You see a lot of large families doing it, where the children are all together. I haven't seen that many people who actually share specifically what they do. I've seen a lot of people that share the principles around home education and why it's a good thing, but I haven't seen a lot of people sort of show exactly how they do it, and not necessarily with the children there, because this is the thing, I can't do that when my children are around. I can't have them in the room, so I'd have to explain how I'm planning it and what I intend to do. So that could be another idea. Okay, so the categories that generally I look at when I'm looking at my videos to plan are, I look at adopters, what they would want to see. So people who've already adopted children, what sort of videos are going to be useful to them. And a lot of those videos might be around challenging behavior, calming strategies, attachment building, dealing with childhood trauma. So that is kind of one of the things that adopters that have got children, they want particular type of videos to help them to parent. So that's one range of videos. And then another range of videos is going to be for those of you who haven't adopted yet, and are on the pathway to adoption. So you guys might be looking for things around processes and what to expect throughout the adoption process. That's another bucket of videos that I look at. Then there are people who haven't adopted, and they, or they might be foster carers. So foster carers might have a whole range of videos that they're interested in. And then those who are curious. So there are a lot of people on my channel who are curious about adoption. They're interested in the children, they're interested in the subject, and that's great. I'm all for that. So there will then sometimes be videos around that they might be interested in. Lots of the videos that I do around the children, but for those who are curious, it might be that I do videos around what makes a good adopter, what makes a good adoption, what types of children are there to adopt, and different types of adoption and things like that. So you've got those who are curious, who might want general information about adoption, if they might want to get into it. You've got those who are on the process of adoption. They all want certain type of videos. You've got those with children. They want a certain type of video. So I try to handpick all these different things to put onto the channel. Because there's lots of different things that go onto the channel, sometimes it's quite hard for, say, someone who's got adopted children to find out where the videos are on the channel that they want to watch. So being that it's 2024, I've started a new playlist now, so that every time I put a video on, it's going into that playlist, and it's going to be quite easy to find the latest videos. So hence coming on here. And if there's anybody who can suggest what they would like to see, I am more than happy to put that on my list. As I say, I've recorded one in advance at the moment, which is all about transitioning, children transitioning, which is quite a wide subject, to be fair. And then I've got these two other subjects. One is introducing adopted children to relatives, and the other one is helping them to respect people and their boundaries. So those two subjects are obviously for people who are well on the adoption process, or they actually have adopted children. So that is like one bucket, if you know what I mean. That's coming from one area. The other thing that I sometimes get into is getting into the deeper sort of behaviours that happen with adopted or fostered children or children with childhood trauma. So that's not necessarily just around adoption, that is around what happens with children that have had childhood trauma. So on the channel in the past, I've dealt with lots of different of those behaviours, but there's no harm in me revisiting them, and sometimes you can come at them in a completely different angle. So, for example, I've done hoarding before, I've done aggression a couple of times, and meltdowns and that type of thing. I've also looked at children that have got childhood conditions and how that can be slightly different from children who have childhood trauma. It might be that there's a bit of a crossover in those behaviours, but yeah. So I've also put things on about particular childhood conditions. So we've had fetal alcohol syndrome before, we've had autism before, but again, there's no harm in me revisiting those things. As it is, my boys have two different diagnoses. One does have a diagnosis for developmental developmental childhood trauma, and the other one has a diagnosis for severe language delay. So I've got those two experiences which I can reflect on, so I can bring that to the table as well. So there's lots and lots of different videos I can do, but what I find is that some are definitely stronger and more popular than others, and that is generally, if I think about it, directly around adoption rather than fostering or childhood trauma, and directly around people who either have the children or are definitely, well on the way to the adoption process, and they're going to get those children. So those are the suggestions that are coming in thick and fast at the minute. And so I'm happy about that, because sometimes on the channel before, I've thrown in lots of, shall we say, niche subjects that I can talk about and I know about them because they've affected our family life, but they're not going to be common queries and subjects around adoption. So sometimes on a channel, you do need to go all in with the things that you think the majority of your audience are going to want. So these new videos that I've had suggested to me are definitely going to be down that line. So if you are here and you want to make a suggestion in the chat of the subject that you would like to see, even if I can't do it or I'm not sure about it, that's fine, because I don't know what people will want, and I'm happy to consider anything that people suggest. Back on the channel, this is probably over a year ago now, I did a whole attachment series, and it was called Practical Attachment. So I came in through with thinking about, if you have the children with you and you're trying to build up attachment and you have attachment issues in different times and different ways, then I came from a practical route. So, for example, one of those attachment videos was trying to build up attachment at home. Another one was trying to build up attachment out of the home. Then there was ones where dealing with things around special occasions and things like that. So there are a lot of videos on my channel. However, there's always a different angle that can be taken. So that angle could be something that I've experienced. So when I do a video, I talk about, so if we take attachment, for example, I can sometimes do a video where I'm talking about something that's just happened in my family, and it's a clear example of either insecure attachment or where I feel attachment is building. So I can then make a video based on my soul experience, and that's really easy for me to do. or I can kind of come at it from somebody else's perspective. So I could come at it from a child's perspective, how they see things, why attachment is so difficult for them because of their lack of trust, and how they may perceive a family celebration, how they may perceive you going out for a couple of hours for a meal, whereas you might want your meal. They may perceive it as being left behind or not, not included, and that might play on their mind. So there's lots of different ways that you can come at things. So when a viewer or someone following my channel says, I would like you to deal with this subject, I might look at it and go, oh yeah, but I think there's a video out there where I've done that. But then when I think about the way they've worded it, so here we've got respecting people's boundaries. So I imagine this person has a child that is very unable to understand that people have their distance. So that person wants me to explain how to instruct and build that with their adopted child or foster child, I guess. Now, I think I've probably covered that sometimes children don't respect strangers, uh, don't know how to deal with family members and things like that in different videos. But have I come at it purely from this angle? Probably not. So I'm going to be able to do that. And it sparks my imagination when somebody comes to me and says, oh, how about you have a go at this? Okay, so I mentioned earlier in this live stream, but there are now people that have been off and on, that somebody's asked me to make a video on Life Appreciation Days. Now, in the UK, that is where professionals get together and they discuss that child just before that child's going to get adopted. All the professionals come together from different walks of life and they present information that they have on the child in a celebratory way. That's what a Life Appreciation Day is. Now, my knowledge is weak on this because this never happened for our boys. And yeah, I know it happens, but it never happens for our boys. So I'll have to research that. But if anybody has information on Life Appreciation Days and they want to share that with me, either by way of messaging me on Instagram or putting some comments on my community page, then that's amazing, because I'm drawing on real life experiences. In the past, I've also asked a couple onto the channel. I knew the lady already, and I knew she was going to be going for 3 children, adopting 3 children, and they did go ahead and adopt 3 children. And they did a video for me before they adopted, but of course, once they adopted, as you can imagine, they didn't have any time. So I haven't been able to get any more videos out of them. And to be fair, a lot of people don't enjoy going in front of a camera. So it's also very difficult from a distance for me to edit somebody else's video as well. But again, real life experiences, and that's why sometimes the people that have followed me for the longest enjoy hearing my actual day-to-day experiences, because they know it's real. Real life experiences always win the day, of course. So if you are watching and you're here at the minute and you want to pop in the chat where you're at the minute, whether you're just curious about adoption. If you're in the chat, you're already a subscriber, so thank you for that. If I'm looking down, I'm looking at myself there, but the camera's up there, so it's a bit confusing. So put in the chat if you're curious about adoption, if you're in the process, if you're an adopter, give me a little bit of information. Or it might be that you're a foster carer. I do have some foster carers that follow me, or it might be that you are just really interested in childhood trauma, attachment, which is kind of like, I put those things together. Just let me know. Let me know that you're here. That would be good. I know there are some people that have been in and out and are here, but let me know if you're here. Don't be embarrassed, because it is my first live. But it's not my first live. My first live was at least 2 years ago, and I got myself in such a faff because I was using a camera and it was actually really difficult. Whereas I've got a new computer, I'm just literally looking at the webcam. I'm live at the moment, Tim. So, oh, biscuits and tea. Thank you very much. Bye. Oh gosh, you can't ever be on your own, can you? You know, they were out doing a bonfire a minute ago. I thought my husband was going to blow himself up because he's done that before, and they're all smoky and disgusting. The boys have come in; they've had a great time now. So yeah, if you are here, then just let me know in the chat that you're here. You don't have to say your name if you don't want to. Let me know you're here. Let me know what you enjoy about the channel. Let me know sort of, your situation. So are you an adopter? Are you a foster carer? Are you just curious? I like the fact that my channel is a mix of all sorts of different people, because that allows me to make all sorts of different videos, of course. And there was a time when I was just so stuck in a rut of, and I think in the early days, I used to do very much processy videos about adoption. So it's very much, this is what you can expect in your assessment, and this is what you can expect a panel. Now, that's fine. And I could go back and revisit some of those. They are there on my channel. But I've been able to open things out and do an awful lot more different types of videos. So an example of one which did very well maybe 3 years ago was how to prepare your home for adoption. And I want to come back to look at that again. And I might either do sort of a vlog style where I go around my home. Not that my home's ready for adoption, because it wouldn't be, because my boys are teenagers, and well, sometimes I do wonder what I should do to safeguard my house. I don't, need to put a stairgate up, so I could do it that way. But I remember the last time I did it, it was very formal. It was like, right, let's take you through the kitchen. You need to think of this, 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 and this. And a lot of my early videos are they're very informative, and people used to like them because they were quick and informative. They got the information they wanted, and then they went again, and they were about 3-minute videos. Whereas as I've progressed on the channel and I'm more me, I like to let my character come out. I like to be more me. And so this time, if I did how to get you home ready, there probably would be some humor in there. It would be a more relaxed video, and I'd probably enjoy it more. And therefore the video would be different. So even if you've seen me do something, but you think you'd like me to go deeper, if you like me to be open about something that happens in my house and you don't think I've shared it, I'll give it a go. The issue is, unlike some of the other adoption channels that are out there where they're happy to share their children, I can't do that. And therefore that does limit some of the more spontaneous things that perhaps you might do. You might be in the kitchen baking and chatting with your adopted children, and people might get to see more of you with your family. I can't do that. So that's out of the question. But there's still lots of scope for lots of things. Other types of videos that I've done on my channel, and I did quite a few of them at one point, was going through different resources and books and things like that. So there were quite a few of those. And one of the books that I haven't reviewed, which came to me, just going to take a swig of my tea, was one about children's aggression. And it was from, I'm going to say she was famous and I can't remember. It'll come to me in a minute. It will come to me. It's one of the authors that have done quite a lot. It will come to me in a minute. I'm getting old, guys. It's got a big kettle on it anyway. It is out there now. Jessica Kingsley Publishers now have it. I started reading it and I found it very deep, but I also didn't find it very humorous. So I struggled with it because there's 2 different writers on there. That's probably why I can't remember who they are. And I didn't review that one. That's a possibility that I could come back and review that one. Now, how many of you have actually got children with clear aggression? I don't know. I mean, I do, but that doesn't mean to say that you do. And also, Jessica Kingsley started sending me freebies, because when they saw me raving about a particular book, I think they got really excited and started, sending me freebies, which is great. It's lovely. But then when I read this aggression book, I was a bit like, I like it, but I don't love it. So what do you do with a review when you like a book, but you don't love it and you don't want to run it down? Because in essence, there's hardly anything out there on aggression and adopted children. So it's great to have it, but yeah. Anyway, I digress. So yes, so there could be more videos around resources. There's lots of lovely books out there. I mean, the obvious ones are around the therapeutic parenting ones. Sarah Naish, now I can remember her. So those are a couple of obvious books that I would always say to people, go and dip in and out of. Don't try and read them all the way through because it will blow your mind. But those are obvious ones that are out there and I've already reviewed, but I can still go and look what's now out there. Obviously, that means I've got to read them. I'm not going to review them if I don't actually read them, am I? So that's a bit of a downer if I've got to read them. So yeah, so I'm going to put a little chat here. And it's going to say hi, and I'm just hoping somebody's going to say hi back to me. Make sure that you are actually here. So yeah, so review on resources. There's also what you can do is review resources for children's play. I've done that a few times. With those videos, I like to have those resources there to show you. And I do have grandchildren, so I can get some resources in to show you, but I can't show you everything. And those videos could be broken down into toys type resources. So things that children are play with, but also then you could have other videos that say what you would need for a child. So for example, what would you need for a toddler if you were adopting or fostering? Basic bottom line. You need some toys, yes, but what would you basically need? Again, those have been done on my videos, sorry, on my channel, but they were very formal. I had a list. I'm like, right, this is what you need, blah, blah, blah. Whereas it could become up in a slightly more relaxed, humorous angle, more of me showing, and so those could be done again. Something else could happen on my channel. And so if you ever watch this back on the replay, so you've not commented here and you want to comment on my community page or on this live about some of these ideas I'm sharing with you, then, you know, please do let me know what you think. So yeah, home education was one, which I said earlier. Another thing that I did is if some of you have been following me for a long time, I did write a book. Okay. Now, this is a bit of a sore subject because Jessica Kingsley didn't want to publish it because they said it was too narrow. And when I sent it out to peers for review, I had one social worker who hated it. And then I had a couple of adopters who loved it. And then one adopter said, I love it, but I think you should make these changes. And I was like, well, I don't want to do any more to it. Like I spent hours on it. So it never got published. It could get published on Amazon Kindle. But if I'm honest, I'm a bit scared of it because I don't really want anything. I can't say anything negative. You always get negative when you publish books, but I'm a bit scared to do that. But what I could do is I could use it as a way to have a series of videos. So because this book goes through lots of things I think adopters need to know, adoption process ish, then I could use that for some of the videos, and I could use my book as a basis for giving out that information. I could even, this is an idea I've had, let me know what you think, have that book available, not as a published book, but like a guide that's available on my channel, either for members or, you know, for people to get a hold of and have a look at. So that could happen. Oh, hi. Hi. So glad I've got somebody commenting. So, Eleonora, I'm so glad you're here. You've got 2 adopted children. Are you happy to say how old they are? Let me know in the comments. Yeah, so I could use that as something that somebody has as a freebie. I could also, no reason why not, produce guides as freebies that somehow people access on the channel. I'm not sure how I would do that, but I could do that. So the guides could be around popular subject areas, couldn't they? So like how to deal with a child's problematic eating, for example, how to deal with, you know, certain behavioural challenges, stuff like that. If that could go on the channel somehow for people to access for free, and they could also be basis, excuse me, I need to take a cup of tea. They could also be a basis for sorry, I've lost my train of thought. They could be a basis for the videos, but I don't want to repeat too much of what I've already done. Does that make sense? So, yeah. Have you've been with me then? So you've watched me go from brown hair to grey hair. Well, the truth was I had the grey hair before, but I just covered it up. So yes, I've been doing videos for a long time. I think you say your name, Eleonora. I've been doing them for forever, haven't I? And I don't want to repeat either. But I do think I've changed from those early days. In the early days, it's very much about getting it right, getting the camera right, making sure you never said anything inappropriate or wrong. Now it's much more about how I'm doing, my experiences, and relating it back to what I'm doing. So I think I've changed, and I think I've relaxed more into the channel. And I think that's a good thing, because if I relax into it, the longevity is there really for me to keep going. Whereas if I'm trying to keep telling everybody, what their referees need to say about them when they first come for adoption, it's not very interesting. And the thing is, as well, is that obviously I'm going on a journey, and those of you who follow me on that journey can see how I'm changing and developing and what I'm having to deal with. And the things that I was having to deal with in some ways when the children were younger are similar, if I'm honest with you. I don't think the blueprint of personality has really changed. But then as time goes on and you hit teenage and other things start creeping in, then you start dealing with different things. So you can see my journey changing. And if I keep going until the children are of an age where they could become independent, or they should be becoming independent, I can be talking about that as well. So for example, one of the boys has an EHCP, the other one has other difficulties that we need to work through. I can hear him next door at the moment, I think, and I might have to tell him to go away. No, it's not very nice. So yeah, you can see how I'm developing as well as a person. Let me just go see what the banging is. It won't be a moment. Can we stop banging? Oh dear, I think somebody's trying to hoover their room. It sounds like the room is, falling apart. You can see my journey, because you start off with little adopted children and little foster children, don't you? And then you end up with adults eventually, and what you're going to do with them. So everything is already changing for us. One of the next things that I'm going to do is bring out a video on some significant things that have happened. They are 7 and 8, and they've been living with me for a year and a half now. Wow, that's an interesting age group, 7 and 8-year-olds, isn't it? Very interesting, quite challenging, I'd say. 7 and 8-year-olds in their own way, but they're obviously close in age, which is good. I'm not going to make an assumption that they're siblings, but there's only a year between my two, and I actually think that really is yes. Oh, there's a thumbs up there. Okay, they are siblings. Right. Okay. Well, that was really funny. I'm on a Mac, and a great big thumbs up just happened there. So I must have got that right. There's only a year between my two as well. And whilst they fight like cat and dog and are very, very, very different, I do think it actually helps. I think they need each other. I think they really need each other. So that works really well. Anyway, so where we were going with that? Yes. So the next video-ish, I've got a couple here to do, is about a significant change that's going to happen in our family. Now, again, one of the difficulties I have is when I'm discussing the boys in my videos, I need to give enough information that you guys understand it's reality of what I'm going through and be able to identify with me, but I can't give away their deepest, darkest secrets. I don't want to belittle them on the channel, so I've got to be really respectful of them, particularly as they're getting older. So I've got to try and give that information to you in a way that's meaningful, but without disrespecting my boys. So so we have some significant issues that are being raised to us now. And let's put it this way, the school thing again. Oh my goodness, the school thing. What can I say? School is just so, so tricky. So yes, so Eleonora, if you're still here, do you have a video that you would like to request of me? I don't think you put anything on the community page. I don't think you're one of the ones who put anything on there. So if you can think of anything, because your ages are really interesting, and you're probably coming across things that children with young children adults, the adopters or foster carers with young children don't come across. So let me know if you have anything specific, and you will go down on the list. Okay. So next one is going to be transitions that I've recorded. Then I'm going to record one about our life situation at home, so more of an informal one, but our experiences happening at the minute. Then I've got one about introducing adopted children to relatives and how to do that effectively. And then I've got one about respecting people's boundaries, children understanding, respecting people's boundaries. That was a tongue twister, wasn't it? What else to say? So there is membership. So I'm not here to plug membership, but sometimes things people perhaps don't realize that it's there, or they don't know what it is. So membership is it's done in different tiers, but what it allows me to do is to produce videos that members can see without subscribers seeing. And the main benefit of that is I can go into more detail because there's not many people that are members. So I've got 2 members at the moment, which I'm thrilled about. And what I can do is I can say a little bit more in those videos because it's not going out to the wide world. I mean, it's over 3,000 subscribers now. So sort of declaring everybody's in a most secrets to 3,000 people is a lot. Whereas if I've just got a few members and I'm going into more detail, then I can do that. So that's the good thing about membership. And as more members join, obviously I will be producing more content for them. And things like just putting, I don't know, pictures on of my grandchildren, stuff like that, which, because they're not my children, I don't just pop them on anywhere. But it's the sort of thing that I could, on the members, I could do that. So yeah, right. So I've kind of been through what I call the buckets of content that I think of. The buckets of content are, I mean, in the very, very start of this channel, I was a doula as well. So I was putting on doula content and adoption content together, and that did not work. Okay. So the buckets of content are childhood trauma is one area, attachment, another area, adoption process, so the actual route to get there, another area, suitability for adoption, another area, the children themselves, so behaviours and challenges and good things like that. And then I guess what people are actually coming up with now are actual almost adoption topics which are child based, which is almost slightly a different area. And I'm quite excited about that. I think that's going to open out a few possibilities for me, I'd say. So yeah, just a swig of tea, give my voice a break, yeah. If you are here in the chat and you've not introduced yourself, do not be shy. Do not be shy. Trust me, if I can do what I'm doing now, sat here with solidly grey hair, aging, you can put something in chat and say hi. Just say hi. But Eleanor has told me how old her children are there. If you haven't got children, that's fine. Yeah, there are lots of people on my channel who just enjoy listening to things about adoption and fostering and childhood trauma. They're just interested in the subject at large. So that's fine as well. But you're a subscriber if you're on here. So please let me know you're here. That would be amazing. So what else to say? So I've said about books I can get in to look at for resources to share with you. What else can I say? Let me think. I'm thinking about what is on my channel already and how that could be adapted, really. Let me just see if I can get some other ideas for you that I might not have already mentioned. Just switch my account over from my crafting account. Let me see. I don't want to keep saying let me see. Playlists, that's the best thing to look at, I think. So pace is really popular. If I'd known how popular pace videos would be, I would have made a lot more of them in the beginning. PACE is one of those things that is just a word and just a thing. It's just very easy to remember, and it's so popular in lots of fields, and lots of people use it. So PACE is another thing that I can major in on, and I think that people do understand PACE, but they prefer to hear practical application. So that's another area which could be included in new videos. But I've done a lot on PACE already, and so it'd been neat becoming, a new angle really, thinking about new ways of exploring it, because I've done quite a lot already. And PACE is very much around attachment and therapeutic parenting, so it is within that realm, isn't it? Um, behaviors, life story. I haven't done an awful lot on life story work. Um, so that's something that perhaps could be dipped into a little bit more. Again, if you're watching this on replay and you want to make a comment about whether that's interesting to you, comment on the bottom of the live stream or on my community page. So, yeah, not a lot done on life story work, because life story work is either a thing, as in the life story book that you get, and I don't know whether you get that in the USA or elsewhere, but obviously we get it here. So there's a life story book and how to share that, and there's life story work, and then there's letterbox contact and all that sort of thing. So that's all wrapped up in one thing. So that's another idea. What else we got? Attachment is a funny one in a way, because it's broad and it can be repetitive if you're not homing on a specific thing. So additional needs. Now that's, yes, additional needs. That was my other idea. So I've done some stuff on additional needs, and this is again difficult. Do you call it additional needs? Do you call it special needs? Do you call it extra needs? What do you call it? So one of my boys is on disability living allowance now. So in theory, he is additional needs, special needs, but he's just my son. So the difficulty is with making it a video around additional needs. It makes it a thing, whereas actually they're just children, aren't they, that need extra support. But when you put it in a title, you can't put this is about children that just need extra support, because nobody knows what you're going on about. So there could be a whole sort of realm of videos around additional needs and how to support it, and the different ways in which it might cause challenges. So additional needs at school, additional needs at home, with relatives, the different types of additional needs that might come up with adopted children or foster children. I'm going to write all this down now, because that is an idea that I've literally come up with myself. So I don't think I've done much on additional needs, and I think that's because it's tricky, because somebody's idea of additional needs might not be my idea. So somebody might be thinking pure disability, where you have a named diagnosis for something, whereas I'm not necessarily thinking about that, because with adopted children and foster children, no one really knows what they're going to come out with, and it's an ongoing bumpy road, if you know what I mean. So again, let me know in the comments if you think that could be handy videos to have. So yeah, different types of additional needs. It's quite hard for me in a sense that the viewers on this channel are definitely split between USA and UK and other countries. So, for example, I could talk about how you fill out an EHCP in the UK, what you need to do, and what you need to fight for. And that would be really, really helpful for anyone in the UK who believes their child is at the point that they need that extra documentation to help them to move forward. And I could literally talk through the form, even on the channel, say, this is what you need to put here, this is what you need to put there. But that's no use to somebody in the USA who's just going to look at that video and go, well, that's great, but I don't even live there. So, we can go deeper into how to explain to professionals what this additional need looks like. Because in my experience, even though you think that a child in our situation, adopted or fostered, is actually going to get the help they need, they don't. You have to fight for it. So, talking about how to fight for it could be an idea, but going deeper, I could definitely do that. But that's only going to be relevant to maybe half the audience, if you see what I mean. But I'll put down here EHCP. I'll put it here. Yeah. So let me know if you've got any ideas for these videos. Please do let me know. So Eleonora, a year and a half. So you're starting to get your head around what these children are really like now, and starting to think about what life's going to look like, I guess. Because I feel that it takes at least a year really to really start knowing them, and for them to start to know you. So have you come across, if you're happy to say, have you come across any challenges, any specific challenges? Or if you don't want to say that, are you finding it's okay? Are you finding it hard? How's it going? Because you're the only one who's commented, so I'm going to ask you again. You know what it's like, ask a busy person. Well, ask someone who comments to comment again, then you might get one. Yeah. I think that people that see my channel probably think that, because of what I've gone through with the boys, that's what adoption looks like. Well, not necessarily. I'm going to say that we knew when we took the boys on that we had our work cut out, and lots and lots of issues from day one. So I think we knew that it was going to be hard, and it's not always as hard. But I think for those people who are finding it as hard or finding it difficult, it's nice to hear that somebody else is finding it difficult as well, that this rosy adoption thing is not always a rosy adoption thing, that actually it's challenging. But I was where was I? Right. Yeah. That was it, yeah. I was having my nails done, and I was sat next to someone that I knew who was talking to somebody else. And they were talking about their children, their adult children, and what their children were like, and they were discussing all the things that happened in the bedroom. So this person that I knew was talking to this other lady. They were talking about what their teenage children do and what their teenage children don't do. And they were talking about all the mess that was laying around on the floor and all the things that they couldn't get their children to do, and as adults, what they couldn't get their children to do. So then I realised when I was listening to them, because I was laughing, because one of them was saying about all this underwear on the floor, I thought, it's really difficult, isn't it, to divide out what it is your adopted children are doing or foster children are doing with what children normally do, teenagers normally do. And they do normally do some of the stuff that we have happening. It's not just that everything that my sons do is around what their background is, because of their background. It is what teenagers do as well. So then you've got to separate out, haven't you, sort of normal development and teenage behaviour with things that are happening because of trauma. That's another idea for a video. I'm chatting to myself here about what these videos are going to be. Normal development in children, the trauma behaviour. That isn't what it's going to be called because that's too complicated, but it's an idea, isn't it? That's an idea. Yeah, well, unless anybody's got any comments then that they'd like to say. Thank you for being here, Eleonora, and commenting. I won't go off yet because somebody might just pop up with something magical that they want me to discuss in the chat, or have an idea for a video that we can then discuss in the chat, and then I can kind of write that down too. Albeit I'm fine that we haven't had loads of chat, because I've been wanting to do a live stream for the last 2 years, since the last one I did, because people did support me and come on, but the camera situation drove me bonkers. And now I've got the computer, I can do it more often. Maybe not often, but more often. So yeah, it's nice to chat live. It's different. It's more interactive, isn't it? So I'll just hang around for a bit longer with my cup of tea, my biscuit, and then if anybody has anything to say, I will keep my eyes on it. I don't think my back is going to hold out much longer anyway, but if anything, comes up in that chat, we'll pounce on it. Interesting to know as well. At the moment, I'm doing one video a week, but I'm going into revisited videos, which have done well in the past but are over a year old, and that's sort of like meant that it's more like 2 videos a week. So I'd be interested if anybody's got any thoughts on that as well. In the early days, my oldest had meltdowns and it was really challenging. The good news is that he's learning to recognize and name his emotions, and is learning to express what he needs to feel better. For example, rooms full of people make him nervous. That's such yay. That's amazing. They take a long time to be able to name their emotions, don't they? They come at it much later, I think. And for many, many years, the biggest problems I had with boys was they couldn't label how they were feeling at all. So they would internalize it. And then the older one would just withdraw, excuse me, runny nose. And the younger one would explode, like you say, meltdowns, Eleonora. And once they can say what it is that's troubling them, then I think you are so much further forward, because you can then name that back to them, and then you can have, however brief, a conversation about it. And like you say, you've been able to identify that's rooms full of people that make him nervous. You're hearing with some delays. Oh dear. It's a bit laggy, is it? All right, that's okay. I wonder how far that delay is. My internet connection is really, really good, but obviously I'm just doing this on the webcam, so I don't actually know. I don't know. Maybe it's, but you can see me okay, and you can hear me okay, but you think I'm delayed, is what you're saying. Yeah, he's able to tell you now, isn't he? And now he's able to tell you, you're able to be on standby, ready to know when that's going to happen. So next time, you've got a room full of people, you're going to know that this might make him a bit wobbly and he might have a meltdown before or after. That just makes a huge amount of difference to them. I can see the computer flickering from time to time, which means it's picking up on itself. Hopefully, though, you can sort of hear and see me all right. Let me go in and see what the live looks like to me, which I didn't do. So I didn't want to. Yeah, right. I can see myself talking, but I am a bit behind. You're a bit behind me. That's okay. Yeah. But it took me a long time. I don't know what it was with the boys, but they absolutely never ever wanted to tell me what was going through their minds. So we would have all this outward stuff or other things happening. I just couldn't do it. And when they were really, really young, I'm not even sure if I've mentioned this on the channel. When they were really, really young, we had this sort of story stem work done on them. I never saw the reports because I was a foster carer then, so we don't have any of that now. And she just said every single thing, every single story that she gave them to look at, every single one did not result in an adult helping them. They did not seek out an adult. So in the story, you would expect the child to go off and ask the adult to help them find the keys or whatever it is the story was. They never did that. And I find that that's an issue with them now. They don't really see us as their resolve to help them. And that's, a massive problem if they're not going to talk to you. But I think that you've come a long way, Eleanor, if you're managing to get those emotions labeled. That's amazing. Really amazing. So I can only thank you guys for being here and for listening. And I will try and do another live stream Again, maybe a different time of day, because this time of day is only just all right for the USA. Some of them will definitely still be in bed. It's absolutely fine for the UK, but it doesn't hit everybody. So if I was to do it of an evening in the UK, which would be about say 7 o'clock, then we definitely would pick up, all nations, as it were. But thank you for being with me. Thank you for letting me do my first live with you. Well, first live for a very long time. And for your support on the channel. And I will see you on Fly Little Birds. Thank you.